Rowan and I'm from Airbnb Smart, and today we're going to be doing a quick tutorial on Smartbnb, the automated messaging system for Airbnb. So if you're not familiar with it, what Smartbnb is, it's a way to automate the messages between you and your guests on Airbnb. Now, if you are like me and you spend a lot of time doing this, this is an awesome tool for automating probably about 90 to 95% of all the messages you're going to be doing. So stay tuned to this. We're going to be going through it in detail, showing you how it's set up, what it can do, and how powerful this tool really is. So stay tuned. So now we are into the command center, and we're going to be checking out the messaging part. Now, the first level of the messaging is at events. Now, what the events are, they trigger out messages to be sent out depending on different events that occur. And they can be things from like new booking inquiries, new pre-approvals, new requests to book, and new reservations. There's a few more as well, which you can find on Airbnb's resources here. Different statuses and what the reservation statuses mean. So you can set up events for each of these different events. But the main ones you're going to want to be considering are these ones: new bookings, pre-approvals, requests to book, reservations, etc. Now, you can go and set responses for all of these, but by the nature of how I have my listings set up, because I'm often in a different country, in different time zones, I don't really feel comfortable having these any of these pre-booking inquiries, pre-approvals, requests to book as active, because sometimes in a completely different time zone I'm just not able to get a response out to these people when I would be promising to do it in here. So I just have I have that all set up as manual. So when someone does send me a new booking inquiry, I answer them manually as and when I can, as soon as possible, obviously. But as soon as somebody does make a reservation, if they do it as an instant book, for example, as soon as they've done that, this new reservation message gets triggered and sent out. So as soon as somebody has booked, then they are now in my sequence, and my sequence will roll through from that point on until the moment they check out, and even past that as we leave reviews as well. So let's just take a look at this message here that I have set up for new reservations. So where are we? Let's have a look at that. Go and edit that. Okay, so yeah, as I said, as somebody makes their booking, they get sent out this message here. It's kind of a generic message. It's just letting them know. You can use these shortcodes too, which is a cool little function of Smartbnb, which you can find. You can find the shortcodes just up here, and you can use things to make things a bit more personable. Because as you're using an automated system, you really want to make sure this is as personable as possible. So I have a pretty simple message set up here, just saying thanks, and if they've got any questions, just to get in touch with me a little closer to the time so that we can go through things. And that is triggered to set up as soon as somebody makes a booking. So for me, that's all I have set up at this first stage. I think I'd like to maintain that manual control, as I said, over new booking inquiries and pre-approvals, just because I'm often in a different time zone, and I often have random kind of questions coming in for that. So I just want to take that manual control over that. So at this first stage of events, that's the only one that I have on, is the new reservations. And once they're in the booking sequence, that thing just kicks into gear and it flows the whole way through. So coming on to the next area, this is the questions. This is a new feature that Smartbnb has had actually, which is they're using AI to detect questions in messages and then to automatically send answers out to those questions to save you having to do it yourself. Now, I think if you were managing a whole heap of listings, this could be an awesome feature. For me, because I'm only doing one, I kind of have the time to go out and send these messages, because often they can be, if you had a question which is relating to parking, you can send, for example, a parking message straight away back to them. But often the messages are after a bit more information than that. So I like to have manual control of that as well. I've got a whole heap of saved messages stored in my Airbnb account, which kind of answer all of my frequently answered questions. So that doesn't take me a lot of time to go and do that. So if you do manage a lot of listings, this is really worth looking into. But I think it will take a bit of time just to get it set up 100% how you want it, so you're not sending random messages to people, and that you are actually answering their questions fully. So I would, use this section of questions. If you're going to do it, just make sure you got it at 100% on point. Make sure all your answers are really personable and really get to the point, and that you're really answering the questions people have got, basically. So moving on to the reservations. Now this is where I think the real power of Smartbnb comes in, because this drip feeds your guests with messages leading up to the reservation, through the reservation time, through their stay in your place, and also afterwards as well. So I like to send these messages out, and I've been tweaking this a lot over the last maybe like 12 months, because you want to send messages at a time when before the people are going to have to ask you these questions, but you don't want to send it out too early so they're not even going to read it and they're not going to remember it. So I like to set my things up like this. I have my check-in instructions, which I send out 4 days prior to check-in. I've noticed that people, I used to have it set up at 3 days, but people even used to start getting a bit angsty maybe about 4 days in advance. So I'd like to send that 4 days out so that they know that everything's ready, everything's going to be prepared and ready for them when they arrive. I also send them the check-in house manual. I do that 7 hours before they check in. So that way, on the morning of their arrival, they've got everything they need, delivered to them, so they can check through it all. And so they're not going to have any nasty surprises when they get there. And that also means they don't have to ask me any other questions, taking up my time and also creating added stress for me once they're checking in. So usually with these two messages at the start, that just gives a real solid amount of info for these guys, just to make sure that they've got everything when they need to check in. So I also have this message here, which is a late checkout notification. Now I have my listing set up so that on my my listing details, I have a checkout time of 10 o'clock, I think. Whereas within this message, but I know that I can actually do a checkout at 11 with my cleaner. I've organized that. But I don't tell them that on my listing, but I do that in this message here. The reason I do it like that is because I think it's just a nice way to add a little extra value. Even though, they don't know that my checkout time is actually 11, but by offering that to them at this junction here, it just lets them know that I'm looking out for them, and that I'm giving them a little extra something. An extra hour in the morning can make a big difference to some people. Now the last message here I have as my bumlick message, as you can see. Now I like to send this out 3 hours after people check out. Now what I do, I just send them a quick message, just basically saying thank you, saying thanks for staying, thanks for coming, thanks for being respectful, thanks for leaving the house really nice and clean. Hope to see you guys again, blah, 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 along those lines. Now, doing that just leaves things on a really nice note. Say if they had any particular issues when they were in there, if they didn't feel, like they got 100% value for money, then just a little nice message at the end like that just leaves things on a really nice note, I think. And I get a lot of nice responses from having that there, and it's really worked quite well for me, that one. So yeah, just take into account the timings here. They're really important. So you want them to be sent out at the right time so that people are getting the right amount of value and the right information at the right times too. Okay, and as you scroll down, you can see at what stage these autoresponders are in your messaging sequence. I don't often look at that, to be honest. To be honest with you, once you get this set up, you'll very rarely ever come back onto the Smartbnb website. It just works so seamlessly, you don't need to. Okay, so moving on here, we move on to the team. Now, depending on how many places you have and how big your team is, this is just a really good way to send out automated messages to everybody that needs to know, like cleaners, or like handymen, or anyone that's involved in your place that you need to send out routine messages to. This is an awesome place to do it. Now I have reminders sent out to my cleaner, and I do that 2 days before check-in, and I also do a text reminder for them 7 hours before the check-in. So I do that so that the first 2 days before, just so that everything that they know and that they're ready to go. And I do this one just in case this has been missed and they've forgotten it. I send out a text message reminder 7 hours before, just to double check that everything gets done, because I have had in the past when this has been missed, and then I have actually had guests arrive at my place and the cleaning hasn't been done. And that was, yeah, obviously gives you a hell of a lot of stress, especially when you're in a completely different country. So having this second text reminder has been awesome. And I do the same for the checkout too. So I let my cleaners know 24 hours before a checkout is about to occur. And I give them a text message 3 hours before as well now, so that everybody knows exactly what they need to do at the right timings as well. And the message I send there, just super simple. Just, you can use the short codes as we did in the previous messages, just to get, this is literally my message here. So, hey Simon, check-in reminders for check-in date. Thanks again, Rowan. You just keep it super simple. So moving on from there is the reviews. Now this is another part that you can automate as well. Now I know writing reviews isn't the hardest thing in the world to do, but it is one of those things that you can kind of forget to do, or at least I can anyway. I have reviews set up to be sent out 3 days after checkout. Now I have a rotating, 3 different reviews that I use. They're all just generic reviews saying, thanks, thanks, blah, blah, blah. Left the house really nice, would definitely recommend, things like that. Now, the reason I have it sent out 3 days after checkout and rather having it sent out straight away is, I don't know, my reasoning behind this is that I like to give the guests just a little bit of time, because if there was any issues with my place through the stay, it just gives them a little bit of time to cool down and to be a bit more level-headed about everything. Because sometimes, people can be. I've had a few people coming in, who've had issues in the house which have got sorted, but just giving them a little bit of time to reflect always calms down any anger or anything like that. That's why I leave it for 3 days afterwards, because unfortunately with Airbnb that's just part of it. You're going to get complaints, and you're going to have to sort them out. Sometimes you have to sort them out when people are in there. That's just the nature of the beast. But I find by having it a few days after checkout gives that cool down time, and it's great. It creates a good rapport, I think, like that. So that's the command center for the messaging, all explained there. As you can see, like having these things set up, like as soon as somebody books your place, from that moment of booking, you can just sit back and relax. You really don't need to do anything more. Once you've set it up, this autoresponder sequence will do the whole work for you. It will send out all the messages to your guests, all the messages to your teams, and it will even do the reviews for you afterwards as well. So you can see how powerful that is, and which is why I use it myself. And as I said, there are a couple of competitors in this market as well. Some of them are a little bit cheaper too, but I've used a couple of them in the past, and I had a little bit of an issues with downtime. Now, as soon as you get some downtime on a system like this, it can mess up your whole autoresponder sequence. Because you're so out of the loop with actually messaging anybody about anything, a little bit of downtime can have a huge effect on just your organization and where everything is. And with Smartbnb, they're the biggest and, in my opinion, the best, and I would rather pay a little extra just to have that, that security and the knowledge that everything is set up well, and I'm not going to have to worry about it. I set it up once and I won't have to worry about it again. All right, so that's messages for you there. I will leave a link below, which you can have access to all of my, I'll give you a transcript or a PDF of all of my messages that I use, so you can go ahead and copy them and tweak them however you need. But that's the messaging component for now. We'll be moving on to the next section. The component we're going to be discussing is the market feature, just on the left here. Now what this does is it generates you a ranking report, ranking your listing against your competitors in your area. Now this is an awesome feature to have, because it just gives you that extra sort of knowledge of knowing how to compete. What you'll do, once you fill in your details here, it generates a report for you, and it runs a report through all the variables for the next 30 days, and it'll generate you a report similar to this, and to this one here too. Now as you can see, it shows you where you are ranking against how many different people. So for example, for this date range from the 22nd to the 24th of Jan, I would be ranking number 1 against 96 other listings in my area, and my rate is £59 here. The maximum rate in my area for my For my search criteria, £256, minimum 29, the average, the median, and the average here. So you can start to get a picture as to how competitively your place is priced against the competition. Obviously, this here is key to knowing where your place is ranking for every single date search for the next 30 days. So you can make adjustments from that. For example, if your place was ranking in the 20s, say for any of these date ranges, it's probably going to be worthwhile dropping your price, and that should give you the quick little boost that you need to get up onto that top page and hopefully up to the top of the listings as well. Now on this next view here, this breaks down the. So I've pixelated these because they're different places in my area. I didn't want to show them on here. Yes, these are the different listings. The top 4 it gives you. And it places you against your competitors in these top 4 for each of these date ranges as well. And it gives you a couple of insights into things like reviews and also the rates which other people are charging. So you can have a look to see how big of an impact the number of reviews that you have is having on your listing, and also the rate and how competitive your rate is. Having access to a few little details like this just gives you that ability to think on your feet and to make changes just to really compete at every stage of the process. So if you see yourself at any date range just not featuring at all, then you need to do some work, because they're not going to get those dates booked if you're in like 20-30 position. You want to, so that's when it's time to drop your price. So this is an awesome tool. It can get emailed out to you daily. You can even get one emailed out to you on request. This is part of the market report here. So go in and fill out your details in here. Fill out your search criteria. You'll get that report sent out to you. So it gives you a really good idea as to how well you're competing. So the next component we're talking about is the heartbeats here. Now what the heartbeat section does is it sends out a signal to Airbnb that your calendar is up to date. It sends that signal out every 60 minutes. Now what that does is it just informs Airbnb that your calendar is 100% up to date, so their system can be confident in booking your place out for instant book dates. It used to be a bigger ranking factor than it is now, but it's still well worth having it on. So yeah, that's just in the heartbeat section here. Just click it on and click save, and that sorts that one out. So the next section here is the checkpoints. Now this is not something which I use personally. It's just that added level of ID verification that some people may require for their place. I can understand why you'd want to do this if you had like a super boutique, super expensive place. You just want to make sure that people who are coming, that they've been 100% verified. Now what this will do, this section, it allows you to ping out a message automatically to any guest inquiries that are trying to book that haven't verified their ID, and you can send out a message just like this one here, just asking them politely to go ahead and get themselves verified before they go through the rest of their booking, and letting them know that they've got 12 hours to do that. As I said, this isn't something that I use personally, but if you've got a top end place, you really do want to make sure that the people who are coming to stay are who they say they are. The next section here we'll be talking about is the stealth mode. Now this section again isn't something that I use, but I think it could be an awesome little feature for people. Say if you're subletting a room, or if you're subletting your place, and you're kind of not 100% supposed to. This is a cool way of having it kept off Airbnb's search results pages, so that only people can see it at certain times of the day when you're most likely to get booked. It's also a good way if you have a property which is 100% let out on Airbnb, for example. By having it on this stealth mode, because there has been stories of people with break-ins, because people can see when there's nobody in your house. They can see when it's going to be vacant and see when there's going to be nobody there. So having this stealth mode on for circumstances like that, in areas where that's a concern, it just hides your place, so that people can't just constantly go in and check out your availability and when there's going to be anyone there or not. So yeah, you can go ahead and set up the stealth mode. It's like they say, it's almost like having opening hours for a shop. So your listing will only appear between certain hours that you specify. So that's the stealth mode wrapped up. Okay, so that's a wrap there, guys, for this tutorial on Smartbnb. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you'd like to get access to my personal messaging templates that I use in my sequence, I'll put a link underneath this video. You can go over to my blog. You can get access to them on there. You can also have access to my review templates too. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions or any comments, just chuck it in the comments below, and I'll make sure I go ahead and answer all of those. But thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys again soon.